Well, we have seen the devastation caused by the storms in KZN, as I said, claimed the lives of 10 people, displacing thousands more. Let's bring in the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. Its spokesperson, Nonala Ndlovu, joins us now. For government's assessment, Nonala, of what's been seen on the ground, our reporters are there. We've seen it for ourselves. Are you shocked by just the extent of the damage of this latest round of flooding?
It is actually quite devastating, I must say. It is nothing that we could have expected or we could have anticipated. It's quite devastating. Yeah, that's just to say the least.
Yeah. At the moment, we've got our reporters showing us scenes of the scenes that we're showing our viewers now. Whole buildings razed to the ground. I understand infrastructure like telephone lines, electricity lines have been destroyed in some areas. How do we even begin to, for example, get connectivity up and running in a context where people are even unsure whether their family members have survived?
It's a struggle. It is a struggle, but we are thankful that we are still able to, our mobile phones are still able to function at this point, and I'm hoping that people can get in touch with their families. Because at this point, I think the most critical thing is the safety of the people. The situation on the ground is such that there are houses that have completely been destroyed and have been razed to the ground, and others have trees fallen over them, and others have roofs blown off. So I can't even begin to mention the extent of the damage to the contents of their houses, the clothing, the blankets, the furniture. So at the moment, what is critical is the survival of the people, and it's the livelihood of the people, and that's the first point, and the clearing of the pathways so that we can be able to deliver the relief that is needed. Right now, we've got TLBs on the ground. We've got people with chainsaws that are trying to remove the trees that have fallen on the ground, and that is the main thing. Alongside with that, there are teams that are working to restore the electricity. I've already mentioned about the clearing of the roads. The electricity teams are on the ground as well as the people from the water services, because you would understand that the quality of the water has been severely compromised, which means that there is a lesser amount of water that is available to the people. So they are working to actually clear the water treatment plants so that they are able to return to optimal functioning so that people can get water. There hasn't been a particular issue about water not being available, but we do foresee if we don't speed up the process of clearing the debris from the treatment plants, there might be a problem. So Those are all the issues that we are trying to deal with at the moment.
Our reporter Nobuhle Modise is in the Tongaat area in Mangwaveni, and several issues have come up there. Residents have had most of the homes that they were living in destroyed. They're now in a position where they're scared to leave their belongings, to go to community halls, to try and get shelter, try and get a warm meal, because they're so afraid of their belongings being stolen, what they were able to save in this disaster. They say that in this particular area, they've been trying to pull people out of certain areas. There's been no sign of any kind of assistance in that area. It's Mangwaveni, it's in Tongaat. Do you have a specific update for us for that area?
Coincidentally, that's the area that we've just left now. We were there just a few minutes ago. In fact, for the morning, we were in that area. We do have TLBs working in that area. We've got teams working with chainsaws. Maybe whoever was talking to reporters hasn't seen them, but they are on the ground trying to clear. The first point was to clear the pathway so that the traffic could flow and that assistance could get to the people. There's already been relief that's been distributed. As we were entering the area, blankets were being distributed to different members. So there is relief being given to the people on the ground. But obviously, the relief won't get to everybody at the same time. It will be moving by stages across the area.
Yeah, certainly. Nonala, you and I have spoken too often over the past few months in relation to inclement weather and the failure of infrastructure in KwaZulu-Natal. The last time we spoke, we talked about the level of infrastructure. We talked about the poor drainage system, which leads to water rising to the levels we've seen in KZN. Where are we on that score so that we can become proactive instead of always being reactive over and over again?
And unfortunately, the situation we're finding ourselves in is quite an undesirable situation. The minute you're trying to recover and rebuild, another incident hits, and then it sets you back. And that's just the challenge that we are dealing with at the moment. And the tornado, the mini tornado, it's a different ball game altogether, because it's nothing that you can ever anticipate. But in as far as the repairing of the infrastructure and building back better, that work continues. But it gets hampered by these incidents that keep happening. Because if there's an incident now, teams have got to all be pulled out to assist so that we save lives at that particular point in time before you go back to do your normal strengthening of your infrastructure and the normal operations and maintenance work that needs to happen. So it's a huge challenge. It's not an easy thing that we can achieve overnight, but slowly but surely the teams are working to make sure that whenever we build back better, and we build more resilient infrastructure that's going to be able to withstand what we are facing at the moment, and we are trying to get technical expertise to get the proper advice in terms of how do we structure ourselves such that we proof ourselves against such incidents.
Yeah.
There are incidents that we can never proof ourselves against. We are in Africa. You know that these types of incidents, they happen even in the most developed world or in the most developed countries. They still face these kinds of situations. So it's a sad phenomena. It's a natural phenomena that we don't have total control over, but we try and mitigate as much as we can.
I mean, I absolutely hear you, on the score of trying to build back, and yet we don't have a chance to build back in a province like KwaZulu-Natal because the weather just keeps on coming and coming. And one can imagine how families feel on that same score. They just become more and more vulnerable with every new weather development in KZN, and it's unfolding in the Eastern Cape as well. It's so hard for residents to have to build from the ground up when they've lost everything. And for people who have never, perhaps some of our viewers have never experienced something like this, where your belongings have been washed away. How do you even begin to assist a family that has to start from scratch in that way?
It is quite a challenge. It is quite a challenge, but we try and do the best that we can under the circumstances. I don't know. Some of the questions I really cannot answer because these things they are overwhelming. But as much as possible, we try and make sure that we assist the communities.
Yeah, let me thank you for your time. Nonala Ndlovu is the spokesperson for the Cooperative Governance Department in KwaZulu-Natal. 10 people having died there in the province following a severe thunderstorm yesterday.